Jordan Peterson was on George Janko's podcast, and they start talking about our thoughts and how much our thoughts have power, and we should not let our thoughts control our life. But before we get into that, my name is Elijah, and I make videos about faith that engages the culture for Jesus. So let's get right into the video.
And only wondering, not because, when you pray out loud, then, the devil can hear your prayer. And so, no, because the devil is not as powerful as God is. But let's say when you have bad thoughts, right, the more you give light to your bad thoughts, the more you're giving the chance for them to be true. And so in that sense, it's kind of the more that I give light to my bad thoughts, I'm giving the chance for the devil to make those things true. Whereas
so that part of that's definitely the case. Okay, so and we should maybe close with this. This is actually a stellar sort of example. Okay, so in the story of Cain and Abel, Cain makes second-rate sacrifices. That means his work is not good. It means more than that. He knows it too. He offers what's second best to God. And that doesn't work. And it doesn't work because life is so difficult that if you offer what's second rate, that's just not going to work for you. And so Abel offers what's first rate. And as a consequence, Abel is very successful, whereas Cain hedges his bets. And he is a failure in consequence. And instead of learning from that and straightening up, he doubles down and becomes bitter and resentful. And enough so that...
Because God calls us to give God our best. Not our second best, not our third best, not our leftovers, not what we have left, but our first and foremost, our best. Yeah, God calls us to give our best. And when you don't do that, we miss out on the opportunity also to be blessed by God because we are not giving our best to Him. So let's continue to watch.
He then challenges God. And he basically says something like, what kind of world did you make where my sacrifices are being rejected and I suffer? And God says, if you did well, you would be accepted. Now, this is not what Cain wants to hear, because anyone who's failing voluntarily, the last thing they want to hear is that it's their fault. They want to hear that it's God's fault. Or
the first
society's
victim.
fault, or someone else.
We make mistakes. We fall short. We do stupid things. And then we like to turn around and blame God for our problems. We like to blame God. Why is this all this stuff happening? And it's terrible. It's the worst in the world. But really, it's our fault. But we like to blame God and put all the blame on Him for these bad things that are happening to us. But really, it's our fault. We shouldn't blame anyone but ourselves. And I know it can be super easy to fall into that because I've fallen prey to this very problem. I start to be questioning and complaining, and I blame God for something that is totally my fault. It's totally my fault for making mistakes and doing stupid things. But that's a problem that we need to make sure we don't get into. That's a problem we need to make sure that we decide to ask God to forgive us for making those mistakes and ask God to forgive us. And we need to realize and take the blame and put the blame on us and be like, God, I made mistakes. This is my fault. Please forgive me. I don't want to do it again. I want to give you my all. I want to do my best for you, God. And that's the best mentality to be at when we're doing our best for you. We know sometimes we're not going to be perfect, but we can do our best.
Someone else's fault anyway. So God just dispenses with that right away. He says, if you did well, you'd be accepted. Okay, but then he says something else, and this is devastating. This is actually why Cain goes and kills Abel. It's devastating because it's even more the last thing you want to hear. He says, you failed, but that's not all. You failed, and then as a consequence, you were tempted by something that sat on your doorstep. You were tempted by the spirit of sin, and it sat on your doorstep like a sexually aroused predatory animal, and you invited it in to have its way with you. And so what he means is you're failing, you're hurt, and maybe that's even understandable, but then you went the next step. That failure and hurt you used that failure and hurt to justify your dalliance with the spirit of resentment and rebellion. You invited it in. You had a relationship with it. You nurtured it. You did something creative with it. You let it grow inside you. And that's why you're in the situation that you're in.
It's Oh my goodness. It's so easy to let resentment and anger and hurt store up inside of you, inside of your mind, and you let it dwell and just sit there, and it becomes stronger and stronger the longer you let it live. And you just start to feel terrible inside, and you start to just resent and just hate the thing that is causing you. And it's not even their fault. It's not even the problem that's actually reality, but it's just inside your brain because you let it build and store up. And this resentment and this problem that's only inside your head becomes all you think about, all your problems. And really, in reality, it's just your problem. It's not anyone else's problem. It's not the person that's next to you. It's not your parents. It's not your friends. It's not your spouse. It's not anything besides you inside your brain, and that you allowed to resent and to sit and dwell and cause so much pain and suffering within inside of you. And it's your thoughts. It's the thoughts that you allow to live inside of you. But it's so important to speak out against those thoughts to yourself and be like, you do not belong here. Those disgusting, those depression, anxiety thoughts that we allow to live inside of our minds is just terrible. So we can speak out against it and be like, you're not allowed to be here anymore. I only want joy in my life. I only want the Spirit of God in my life, not the evil deception thoughts that can so easily be entangled into our life. But we can speak out against it and speak life into our minds. That's why the Bible talks about in Philippians 4:6. I actually had to read this to myself yesterday because it's so important to be thinking what is true, lovely, honorable, and talks about we need to be telling God about everything. Instead about worrying about everything, tell God everything. Then you will truly experience God's perfect peace. Then you will truly experience the peace that surpasses all understanding. And it's so easy it could be so easy to say, but so hard to do, because it's a battle between your own mind. But I encourage you to go to Philippians 4, chapter 4, verses 6 through 8, and read that. Speak it over your life. Talk to God. Tell him everything that's going on within your life. Give him all your fears and anxieties, and surrender to him, and give it all to him, and tell him, I can't do it on my own. These things are scaring me. I don't know what to do, but give it to God. You'll experience so much more peace and love and joy, and get rid of all of those deceptive, evil thoughts within your mind, because they're not worth it. And give it to God. Let's continue.
Situation that you're in. And Cain he leaves that conversation, and he is not happy. And that's when he offers to Abel the opportunity to work with him and kills him in the field. Right? And then Cain's descendants there are a variety of people, but one of his descendants is the first person who builds weapons of war. Right? So it's not just so Cain is murderous, but his descendants are warlike and genocidal. So that's another lesson from that story, is that's where that genocidal spirit comes from, that bitter resentment.
Like genetically?
That's a hard question. We'll say no for now.
Okay.
Well, developmentally anyways, sociologically, right? I mean, the idea in that story is that the psychological cause of the degeneration of societies into genocidal mobs is the resentment that's engendered as a consequence of rejected sacrifices. But more than that, and then the invitation of that spirit within in a creative manner. Well, the Nazis were no shortage of creative in their genocidal brutality.
Well, everybody took from their pay.
Okay, something that Jordan Peterson said right there is so crucial. The rejection of self-sacrifice is one of the craziest things, but so true. The problem, I would say, that goes inside your mind is most detrimental to your brain, to your thoughts, is not rejecting yourself. Because when you don't reject yourself, and the only thing that you start to think about is yourself, You start to think about all your problems and all the negative things that happen to you. And the only thing that you dwell on is you and your problems and yourself and all the negative things. And you start to think about all these things that are happening and you get so depressed. And that's all you think about. And then the only thing you think about is how can you help yourself? How can you make yourself happy instead of someone else? And you're not thinking about other people anymore. You're just dwelling on your problems, and that's where it becomes so tricky and so deceptive, and it becomes all about you, and that's when you become the most depressed. That's when you become the most filled with anxiety because you're only thinking about yourself. You forget and you rejected the self-sacrifice. And that's why they talk about how you want to have joy and you don't want to be depressed. Go and be in the community and serve, because you stop thinking about yourself. You stop thinking about all your problems and all your anxieties and your all awful things that are happening to you. You're thinking about other people. You want to have joy? Think about other people. You want to be able to be happy and truly be satisfied? Serve the community. Feed the homeless. Pray for other people. See how you can help them. But when you're focused on how can people always help you and what can you get from them, that's when you're depressed. That happens to me all the time, to be honest. I get into this self-destructive attitude, and it only leaves you empty and sad. When you truly seek Jesus and you have that self-sacrifice mentality of looking to how you can help others, how you can serve, how you can be a light for Jesus and tell other people about Jesus, that's when you're going to be most satisfied. That's when you're going to have the most joy, and that's when you're going to be the most happy. Not because of the circumstances that are in your life and everything's going great, but you're not thinking about all the terrible stuff that's in your life, and you're not dwelling on only you. You're thinking of others. That's when you're going to be most satisfied. I hope you guys get something from this video and truly understand that the best way to be fulfilled and to have joy is to control your thoughts and to die to yourself and live a life of self-sacrifice. That's why in Romans 12:2 it says to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. Then you know God's true and perfect will for your life, and know that God loves you and He has an amazing plan for your life. So choose to live for Him. Thank you guys so much for watching. I want to know your comments. Comment down below, whatever that may be. And can't wait to hear from you. Please like and subscribe, because that helps more people watch this video and get to know more about Jesus. So I encourage you guys to do that today. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye now.